Welcome to Energy Stew. This is Peter Roth, your host. And I'd like to ask you, have you heard of GANS, plasma potentized water? Have you had any of it lately? Well, let's find out more about it because I think it's a great opportunity for incredible healing, incredible quality of life. And so we want to get excited about it, as I am. And I'm so excited to talk to two people who are working very diligently with bringing this special water into our lives and the opportunities that we can have with it. And so I'm so happy to have the guest for the show today, Dr. Paul and his wife, Lynn Schmaltz. Welcome to Energy Stew.
Hi, Peter.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Oh, I'm so glad because most people haven't heard of GANS, plasma potentized water, and you're diligently working to bring it into the world. And it's not something that you discovered so much as discovered the scientists who developed this, but Paul, Dr. Paul, you're a former veterinarian, and as a scientist, as a doctor, you were able to really grasp the fundamentals of this and use it. And fortunately, you live in Montana in a large enough facility, I guess your home, and I don't know where else in your surroundings you have the opportunity to develop laboratory purposes of making this water available to the public. So I'm so glad. So can you tell us about how you discovered this from the scientist who first invented it?
Well, first of all, I had a friend who lives in New Jersey tell me about it. He thought I might be interested, and so I tuned in to the weekly teachings of this nuclear physicist who's Iranian, and had a really hard time understanding his accent and his structure of English, sentence structure and everything else. And so Lynn typed up the transcripts, and she could understand him a lot better than I could. And so she typed up everything, and we started studying it, and was able to, with my background, I have a chemistry major and then a doctor of veterinary medicine. And with that background, was able to interpret the teachings in such a way that we were able to use them to develop the plasma waters that we now have and have used on ourselves. I started out by just experimenting on myself because I do have several specific problems, and I got results. And so then that was encouraging, and I just, from there, we slowly developed things, and it's been a period of about 4 years to get where we are right now.
Well, I'm so excited because I think it was about 3 years ago I learned of this, and not being a scientist myself, I wasn't able to utilize it the way you have. So you're a great find to me from my background of knowing about this GANS water and what it can do, and have the opportunity of you being out there developing products for people who can take advantage of it without having to become scientists themselves.
And you should probably explain what GANS is, because he brought that up.
Well, GANS is gas in atomic nano state. And there are several forms of matter, and gas is one of them. And so what we do is we take the elements of whatever it is we're trying to make, whether it's herbs or metals such as copper, gold, or silver, and run it through a chemical process that breaks everything down into a monoatomic state. And what that means is that the atoms are all free floating. They're not attached as in a molecular form. They're not hooked to each other. They're monoatomic. That means an atom all by itself. And that's what people are looking for when they're trying to make monoatomic gold to use medicinally or spiritually, whatever. And so the GANS is the finished product of the breakdown of the compound into a monoatomic state.
And yet, let's say that we're working with copper, and you create a condition for the copper to become a liquid, and then somehow the liquid, if you put water over this particular liquid that you create, the liquid absorbs the monatomic elements, and that copper then can be utilized in our system.
Right. Actually, what you do is you put, we use spring water that comes out of the side of the mountain up here in Montana, and it's clean and it's pure, and it has a few minerals in it already, which is fine, but it doesn't have any pollutants in it.
Which might be found in commercial spring water.
Right. And so we add that water and shake it up, and what you get is, in the case of copper, you get a bright green color, and you just let it set, and after a day or so, the clear water will end up on top, and all of the GANS material will be on the bottom of the jar. We use a quart jar like a mason jar. And then you can see the difference. And then to use the water, we just reach in with a syringe and get whatever we want, and just use the water and not the GANS.
Although it's not just copper by itself, isn't it coated first?
No, it's monoatomic copper.
No, I'm talking about the metal itself.
Oh, yeah, that you use two forms of metal. You use nano-coated copper, which has a carbon covering on it, and then you use plain copper.
Together, but you don't use just one of them.
Right, together in the same vat.
Right.
And you hook them together, and you get a little electric current that flows across there and releases monoatomic pieces of copper.
Right. And you can do that for many different metals, and along with, you can put them into a container along with the copper, I guess, and then you get nano particles, or not particles, but elements of these other metals, and you even are doing that with herbs and foods and almost anything, right?
Well, that's right for the metals, but for herbs, we use a different process, and that's sodium hydroxide to break everything down with. That's lye. and it's quite toxic, and you have to be very careful with it.
Yeah, that's why it takes a good scientist to work with this.
One of the things we've done, Peter, is when people go to our website, there are several free reports that they can get.
Good.
And one of them is showing the nano coating process. And Paul's in the process now. We're filming, and it's taking a while because every week we go in and film to see how much of the nanoparticles are collecting in CO2, copper, let's see, the CuO2, zinc, and CH3. And so we're filming that, and there will finally be a series that we'll make available on our website and also on our YouTube channel. And do you want to know what our website is?
Of course.
Okay.
Thank you.
It's plasmaenergysolution.com.
Right.
plasmaenergysolution.com. When you see the free reports and click on them, you do have to put in your email to access the free report, because sometimes people say, well, I clicked on the report cover and it didn't open, and that's the issue. They just have to activate it.
Okay. And you have a membership to that. It costs $1?
Yes, whenever somebody purchases from us, the Plasma Energy Solution is a private membership association, which means we sell only to our members. So in that process, you agree when you purchase something that $1 of your purchase will be assigned to your membership, and any subsequent purchases, $1 would be assigned to the private membership association for whatever management might be taking place. And the only thing we require of members is that you use, enjoy, and share the products.
That's wonderful. And you have different kits available. And I'm one of your customers because recently I purchased your basic kit, which has 16 different vials that you ship out together that we can attach to a fresh bottle of water. And then it activates that water. It actually goes through the glass or plastic of the container and activates it because it's monatomic. It's not prohibited because of the matter in between.
Right. The only issue is when people say, I want to use my favorite crockery, I want to use stainless steel. We have to say, please stay with clear glass or clear plastic containers. They can be translucent. And by that, I mean, here's a translucent container.
Well, most people are only hearing the show, so they can't.
Oh, okay. And so it may be a tinted color, like a blue or a pink or a green or something, which is fine. And it's just if something is opaque, it's going to stop the activation.
You have to be able to see through it.
But even if it's translucent, it would be clouded, it wouldn't be clear. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Transparent would be clear, translucent then, because I have a whole bunch of translucent bottles that I was hesitant to use because I didn't think they were clear enough.
If they're like most of these gallon jugs you get in the grocery store, and they have you can't see readily through them, don't use them. You need to be able to see through them and read what's on the inside. If there was a note on the inside, you need to be able to read that note through the container.
Now, you just sparked an interest in me. What could be in a note? Perhaps that would be intention. And what if we filled our container with a bunch of intentions?
That helps.
Well, you use intention all the time when you're...
Yeah, I use it every day when I'm making up products. It is my intention that these products do as they are intended for the betterment of all mankind.
Right, but we could have particular goals of fixing something in our lives that we can put that instruction into the bottle. Maybe we can even protect it by putting it into a Ziploc bag and send that into the water. Would that work?
It's not going to hurt anything.
Well, I like intention. Some years ago, I had lunch with Dr. Emoto, and he was a man who really helped us understand the power
Right.
of intention.
And it's going to be different for everybody. Your power of intention may be much stronger than mine.
Okay, that's interesting. And I guess it's a sense of how deeply we hold our purpose.
Right.
Right. So there's so many ways to use this. And I'm so psyched because I have mine potentized. And I'm drinking it and spraying it. I did my washing it. There's so many ways that we can just move this water around, put it in our plants, into the pots. In little, I guess we can pour it in, but also we can just put a container of it inside the soil, because the container, if it's clear, I guess clear is better, then the energy moves through it into the soil and into the plant.
Right.
Yeah, that's great.
You know, we've taken it in a spray bottle and I sprayed around our windows and doors and thresholds. And I did this a couple of years ago. And in the spring, maybe I'll do a little touch up. I don't really need to. And I saw one fly this summer in the house.
Versus loaded with them.
We don't even know where the fly swatter is. They don't like the energy. And I went the next day and one of our cats was staring at the window of the back door that had a curtain on it. So I looked behind the curtain and there was the fly. I opened the door and the fly left. It was like, thank goodness.
But house pets are different.
We give the water to our pets, and we have 2 cats. One of the cats had a rough beginning, and Paul had done a formula called anxiety relief. And I got to thinking about it one day, and I thought, I'm going to add that to the water. And she's a lot more interactive now. She doesn't run and hide when she hears the front door open. She only hisses when she's done being combed or when the other cat irritates her.
Okay.
But she used to hiss at everything. It was just a fear reaction, I guess you'd say, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a lot of clients who deal with anxiety, and I was thinking that just being in the presence of these plasma energies really transforms our psyches just by itself. Just with carbon, iron, copper, especially zinc, really allows our emotions to feel freer and more comfortable. And then there are other applications, because you put all kinds of things into your kits and vials that people can purchase. And so I don't know whether, maybe if people just buy the basic kit, they can feel better anyway, or they might want to get the extra vial for anxiety.
Well, there's an anecdotal thing I'll tell you. And one woman had set her plasma energy station on a table and hadn't thought much about it, but she had a very tall Dracaena plant. And she happened to be looking at it one day, and the top of the plant was leaning down towards the station, and it had this new growth on it. And she sent me the picture. She said, "This is really neat." And somebody else sent me something, and they had put their station on top of a guinea pig cage, and their guinea pig was 9 years old, full of cancer, had a huge tumor, and they were going to have to put her to sleep. Well, what happened is she started getting better, and she was getting more active, and they wrote me and said she's still here a year later. She doesn't have a tumor, and she's running around like a young guinea pig.
Well, that's wonderful. And Paul, you have a lot of your own anecdotal experiences with your health conditions that are amazingly better.
Right. Like I was diagnosed with cataracts over 3 years ago, and now they're gone. I used a formula of eye drops that has CO2, zinc, and a tiny, tiny bit of copper. And my vision has greatly improved. I just took my driver's license exam and passed with no glasses, no contacts. And I'm 79 years old.
That's wonderful.
So, you know, that right there is quite a testament after I had been diagnosed with cataracts that were going to have surgery. I still have not had surgery.
Well, you don't need it now.
Right,
And you used to do surgery on animals for cataracts.
right.
And you got cataracts because you had a kidney condition.
I had a kidney condition. I had diabetes type 1. That's what led to the cataracts. And that's what led to kidney failure.
Wow.
I had a kidney transplant 15 years ago. And the kidney function was starting to deteriorate. And I started using the plasma energy on my kidneys in the form of patches like you have on your shoulder. And my kidney function has improved.
That's great.
From what it was 3 years ago.
And how's your diabetes doing?
Yes, so it's better now. And my diabetic control, I'm able to take half the insulin that I used to take.
That's great.
And I still have diabetes type 1. It's not cured, but I'm dealing with it a whole lot easier.
That's wonderful to hear. And, you know, we all have different ailments. You mentioned I have patches of the plasma water because we can, and this is another opportunity, is that we can make paper patches by putting the paper into the water and then having it dry and then folding it up and wearing it on different parts of our body after it's dried, and it energizes those locations. So there are so many ways of using this, as even dry paper, paper patches or sprays of the water. We can do so many different things. And so people should really get to your website and look at all of the informative videos you have and so much information. And they can buy products from you. And because they've listened to the show, there's a particular discount they can get if they use my name, Peter. Just to put Peter into, there's like a coupon code, and they'll receive a discount. So
Exactly.
So yeah, I'm glad to be able to offer that to people that just to use me.
And I'll mention, Peter, that coupon doesn't expire. So if somebody uses it next week and then they use it in 6 months, they just have to remember to put the name Peter in when they're getting ready to check out in the coupon code, and it'll still be active.
Right, and they can have their friends and family use that code too. So, you know, this is amazing, the opportunities for health that not only in our own bodies, but our pets and our friends and family, and so many people on this planet can really return to much better health because of using this potentized plasma water. And it's something that I think will really take off on this planet when especially when it's easier to do because of people like you who make it available so so a lot of us don't have to become technicians in our own right.
Well, one of the things that happens this time of year, we've already had 3 snowstorms, and even in Montana, we're thinking it's a little too early. But once that happens, our little glass vials can freeze and sometimes break. So this time of year, we send 4 larger BPA-free plastic vials, and we consolidate the smaller 1 through 4 in vial number 1, 5 through 8 goes in vial number 2, and so forth. And I tested these. I put them in the freezer. I froze them. I took them out. I threw them on the floor. They did not break, so they passed Lynn's test.
That's
And
wonderful.
yeah, and so we do switch off, and then in the spring, I always say it's warm door to warm door is when you get the glass. When it's overseas, we send the paper patches that are soaked with the plasma energy station water or whatever formula they might have ordered, and they're completely dried, and then they're sealed in a plastic bag, and I use lots of clear plastic packing tape around them so that they're sturdy, they're not going to tear, and that type of thing.
That's wonderful. This is such a gift. I'm so glad to be talking with you. You guys are really pioneers, really helping the planet. So I want to thank you for being on Energy Stew, and I hope people take advantage of it. That basic kit, by the way, has 16 vials in it of different opportunities. Of each
Right,
vial.
and that's the one I just spoke of. That'll be four larger consolidated vials in the winter.
Right.
And or as I said, the pair of patches that goes outside of the country. So there are different ways, and you don't have to have a lot of the plasma water. Paul has started using Band-Aids and just putting drops of plasma water on the gauze, and he'll put an X on one side of his knee and a single on the other side. He's wearing them 24/7. They don't hurt.
I love that the volume, the quantity of it doesn't matter as much as the quality. So that's fantastic.
Exactly.
Right, and that has eliminated arthritic pain in my knees.
Oh, I'm thrilled to hear that. Thank you. They can help me too. So, but we're really at the end of the show. I want to thank you so much for being on Energy Stew. It's great talking with you.
Well, thank you. We appreciate your time.
Thanks, Peter.
Thank you. And this is Peter Roth, your host of Energy Stew at prn.fm. I can be reached at peter@heartriver, HEART river.org. I'd love to hear from you, and thanks so much for listening.